Microsoft Management Console. The Microsoft Management Console, or MMC as it's better known, is simply an application where you'll perform the majority of your administrative functions on your computer. Now if you've used Windows 2000 or Windows XP before, then you more than likely have used the MMC. Now in the purest form, the MMC has nothing in it and it can't do anything. The MMC itself is simply just a framework in which snap-ins are installed, and it's from these snap-ins that the MMC gets its ability to manage your applications. Now probably the most common MMC used would be the Computer Management MMC, so let's go and take a look at that. Now there's a couple of ways to open this MMC. We can click on Start, Administrative Tools, and then Launch Computer Management. Alternatively, we can right click on My Computer and then select Manage, and if you happen to be a command line junkie, we can go to Start, press Run, and then we can type in compmanagement.msc. Now all of these methods are going to get you to the same place. Okay, so here we are in the Computer Management MMC. Now you can see that it does look a lot like Windows Explorer. We've got two panes, the left and the right. In the left we have a tree structure. In Windows Explorer this would represent our folders. In the MMC this represents tools that we can select to manipulate, view or change things in our environment. Now these things here are our snap-ins. In the right hand pane you'll see the sub-items of the selection that you made in the left hand pane. So in other words, if we choose the event viewer in the left hand side, on the right hand side we can see what event logs are contained in the event viewer. So basically on the left hand side we select things, and on the right hand side we can do things. Now most actions you perform in an MMC will be done with the right mouse button. So as a golden rule with any MMC, if you're in doubt and you don't know where to look, right click everything in sight and you'll probably find it somewhere. Now this is great, but the real power in an MMC is in creating your own MMC. So to open up a blank MMC, we'll go and press Start, Run, and then we'll type in MMC and hit Enter. Now this brings up a blank MMC, and as you can see we basically have nothing in it, and as it stands our new MMC won't do anything. So we need to add in some snap-ins in order for this MMC to be able to perform some sort of task. Now the first thing I like to do, however, is rename the console root up here to something a little more friendly. So you can simply right click it and select Rename. So call it whatever you like. I'm going to call mine Help Desk MMC, so this will be an MMC which I'm going to distribute to my Help Desk users. Now we'll need to add a snap-in. So we'll come up here to the File menu and then we'll click Add Remove Snap-in. Now alternatively, if you happen to be a command line person, you can press Ctrl M and that'll do the same thing. Now this brings up the Add Remove Snap-in box. Now at the top here we have two tabs, Standalone and Extensions. Now you'll notice that on the Extensions tab I can't do anything at the moment because everything's greyed out. Now the reason is we need to add some sort of snap-in to our MMC first. So back on our standalone screen we want to add a new snap-in, so we'll come down here and we'll choose Add. Now this brings up a list of all the snap-ins that we have installed on our computer. If you do have any additional applications installed on your computer that provide their own snap-in, you're going to find them listed here. Now we can scroll down the list and you can see we have quite a few snap-ins that are provided by default. Now when you do select a snap-in, you'll notice a brief description is provided underneath, and this just tells you a little bit about what the snap-in does. Okay, so let's choose one, and we'll go with say remote desktops in this instance, and we'll choose Add. And then you'll notice that our snap-in appears here in our list of snap-ins which are going to be added to our Help Desk MMC. Now we can select as many as we like, so for example we could come back up the top here and we could choose Computer Management as well, and then we can click on Add. Now when we click this one it's going to ask us to select the computer that we want this snap-in to manage. Now the default is always going to be the local computer, but if we want this snap-in to manage another computer we can simply select this and then browse through Active Directory for that computer. So we'll go back to local and then we'll click Finish, and now I'm going to click on Close. Now this time we can go up here and take a look at our Extensions tab, and now we can see that we do have a snap-in that supports extensions. The Computer Management snap-in does have options for you to allow or disallow some of the available options. Now this is a great feature if you want some of your help desk staff, for example, to be able to do some things but not some others. So you can give them access to the things they need and then remove the rest. Now by default, the Add All Extensions box is checked. So to remove some of these items from our list down here of the available extensions, we'll uncheck this box, and then let's say we don't want to help this users to be able to use the disk defragmenter, we could simply check this box, and now the disk defragmenter will be removed from their MMC. So we'll click on OK, and we will expand our Computer Management MMC. Now under here, when we expand everything, you'll notice that we can't actually see the disk defragmenter. And that's a good thing because we've removed it. So if we want to go back in and add it back in, we'll simply come back over here to the File menu, we'll select Add Remove Snap-in, we'll go back to our Extensions tab, we can either choose Disk Defragmenter again, or we could just simply come back here and go and add all of the available extensions. And we'll click on OK. Now when we expand our computer management, and then we expand storage, we can see that we do have the disk defragmenter back again. Okay, now let's assume that I've created this MMC and I wish to give it to my help desk users. I could actually save it and distribute it to them now, but there's one problem. As it stands, this MMC is in author mode. Now that means that help desk users are free to then add or remove their own snap-ins and change this MMC, and that's not what I want. What I want to do is lock down this MMC, so I need to change it to user mode. So to do this, we'll go up here to the File menu and we'll select Options. Now you can see here under console mode that our MMC is indeed running in author mode. Now from the drop down box we can use one of the other available options, which is to change to user mode with full access, to change to user mode with limited access and multiple windows, or to change to user mode with limited access and a single window. Now the only real difference between these two here is that limited access multiple window gives the user the ability to open a new sub-window containing the selected snap-in. So what we'll do is we'll choose user mode, limited access with multiple window, and then we'll choose OK. Now that we've made this change, we're going to need to save our MMC, close it, and then reopen it for these changes to take effect. So let's go and do that. So what we'll do is we'll come up to the File menu, and then we'll choose Save, and we'll browse to a location to save it. So we'll choose our desktop, and we can provide it with a name. We'll call ours Help Desk MMC, and then we'll click on Save. Alright, now I'll close this down and I'll close down the Computer Management MMC I had behind it, and here we can see our Help Desk MMC. Now you'll notice that this file has the .msc extension. Now we can simply double click on this file to open up our new MMC. Now once you have created your MMC and you've locked it down into user mode, what happens if you want to make changes? Well, you'll notice now that our File menu doesn't have the ability to go and add remove any of our snap-ins. And the Options tab will not let us change back into author mode. So what do? Well, what you need now is the administrator account. The administrator account can open up a user mode MMC in author mode, so you can once again change the MMC. So to do this, we'll cancel out of this at the moment. We can simply right click on the file and we can select author. Now alternatively, we could also close this down and we could come to Start Run, and then we could type in the path to our MMC and then use the /a switch. And that again will open it in author mode. So we'll just cancel that, we'll right click again and we'll select author. And we'll go back up to our File menu. We can see that our Add Remove Snap-in option has returned. Also under our options, again we can see that we now can change our console mode. And that's great, so our ability to make changes to our MMC has returned. Now if you recall, when I added this computer management snap-in, I was given the option to manage the local computer as we said here, or a remote computer. Now in that instance I chose the local computer. However, I can still manage a remote computer by selecting the computer management snap-in, then right clicking and then selecting connect to another computer. Now here I will need to type in the name of the computer that I wish to connect to, or select the browse button and locate the computer on my network. Once I'm done, I'll simply click OK, and then my computer will attempt to connect. And now we can see here that my computer management snap-in has changed to represent the fact that it's now connected to file server. Now if you do have the correct credentials on the target computer, you'll be allowed straight in as you just saw. If you don't, the MMC will pop up a dialog box requesting a valid username and password. So just enter in those details, click OK, and then you should be able to connect like you saw here. Now before we finish up our discussion of MMCs, I'd like to show you how to create different views and also how to launch your own applications from within your MMC. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this back to our local computer, so we'll say connect to another computer, we'll go and select our local computer and then we'll click on OK. And now what I'll do is I'll expand the Computer Management MMC and then expand System Tools and I'll select our Event Viewer. And now I'll right click and I'm going to select a new TaskPad view. Now this starts up the new TaskPad view wizard, so I'll just click Next. And now you see that you can create a few different styles of MMC. We've got a vertical list, a horizontal list, and no list at all. Now because I want to create an easy to use MMC, I'm going to choose no list for this example. Now we also have an option to hide the standard tab. And I'll just switch to another MMC to show you exactly what this is. So I'm just going to open up Computer Management MMC. And I'll come down here and I'll select Services and Applications. Then we'll come down and select Services. And over here on the right you can see an Extended and Standard tab. So that checkbox here is exactly what we're referring to. Now lastly, we can select whether we do want to see a lot of text in our MMC or the pop-up balloon tips that appear when you hover your mouse over them. Now I'm just going to leave these defaults and I'm going to click on Next. And now we get the option to make this the standard view for only the selected item or all items that are in the tree and have the same type. Again, I'm just going to leave these defaults and I'm going to click on Next. Okay, now we're going to have to give it a name and a description. Again, I'm just going to leave the default here of Event Viewer. I'm not going to give it a description and we'll just click on Next. Okay, we've now finished this new TaskPad wizard, but we do get one option here to start the new task wizard. Now for the moment I'm going to uncheck this box and we're going to click on Finish and we'll come back to that in a minute. Okay, now we can see our new TaskPad view, but it's a bit boring because there isn't anything in it. I just wanted to show you what you would see. So now we're going to need to go back in and start up the new task wizard. So we'll right click on our event viewer and then we'll select Edit TaskPad View. Now here we can make changes to the TaskPad view and we can also change what this TaskPad view applies to by clicking here on the Options button. Okay, so we want to add a new task, so we'll come up here and we'll select the Task tab. Now it's pretty bland in here at the moment as we don't actually have any tasks, so we'll come down here and we'll select New to create a new task. And of course this starts up another wizard, the New Task Wizard, so we'll click on Next. Okay, we have three options. We can run a menu command, we could start a program, or we can launch a view from a favorite if we have one. Now we'll select the first option, which is a menu command, and we'll select Next. Now at the top here under our command source, we can either choose to have our list in details pane, which is what you see down here, or we can select a tree item task. Now a tree item task of course just gives us an explorer-like tree that we'd normally see on the left-hand side of our MMC. Now let's say that we want members of our help desk to be able to view, say, our application log. So what we can do is expand Event Viewer and select the application log, and then in the right hand side we can see the available commands that we have. So we can open the log, we could save it, clear the events and so on. Now what we'll do is we'll just choose Open and then we'll click Next. Now we can give our new task a meaningful name if we like, so we'll say Open App Log and we can give it a description if we like. We'll just leave the default there and we'll choose Next. And now we can select an icon that we wish to identify our new task with. So if none of these here take your fancy and you'd like to use one of your own, you could simply click on Custom and then browse to the location where you've got your icon stored. So we'll just select an icon here and we'll choose Next. Okay, we're finished now. We just get a basic summary which just tells us what we've done. So we'll click on Finish and now we can see under our task window we do have the task of Open App Log. So we'll click on OK. So now under our event viewer we can see that we do have the icon with a set of keys here, and next to it is Open App Log as we called this particular task. So we can select this here and now you can see the contents of our application log. So it's all too easy. So why don't we go ahead and we'll just create another one. We'll click back on our event viewer. We're going to right click. We're going to select to edit our TaskPad view. We'll go back to our tasks. We'll select New. We'll select Next on our new task wizard. Now this time we'll run a shell command and we'll choose Next. Now we need to provide the path to the command we wish to run. So how about we just want to launch a simple command exe. So we can simply click on Browse. We'll go down to My Computer, our C drive, Windows, and we'll come and expand System 32. and we'll expand until we find cmd.exe and we'll choose open. Now we can provide any optional parameters that we might like here. I'll just leave the defaults and we'll choose next. Now we need to give it a name, so we'll just simply call this one command prompt and we'll choose next. And now we need to provide it with an icon. Well, why don't we just give this an exclamation mark and we'll choose next, and now we're done. And of course we can come down here and run this wizard again if we do have multiple tasks we want to create, but for now we'll leave it as it is. We'll select finish. We can see our command prompt task appears here in our task list, and we'll click on OK, and now we can see our command prompt in our event viewer. So we'll click on that and you can see that now we do have a command prompt that opens up. So as you can see, the MMC is a pretty powerful and very customizable tool, and it gives the administrator a great way of allowing or restricting access to the various tools and departments in your business. Now once you've created your final MMC and tested it to ensure that it works as you desire, save it in user mode and then distribute it to the staff that require it. Then you can simply email this file to them, or you can deploy it via group policy. Either way, you now have yet another powerful tool at your disposal for managing your environment.